Their goal is to bring you a podcast that sounds more like everyone else than anyone else.
We need to accept the fact that we are like every other podcast.
We want to be special, but we're not quite there yet.
It's the Xennial Odyssey podcast with Remy and Bobby Rocks.
About what went on for me this week?
Yeah, please
the
do.
Sleep study. Okay, so
I think it's very, being someone who's on the other side of it is very intriguing stuff. Yeah, and me and Bobby both have. I'll just kind of preface it because he's going to give you a little monologue, but we both have had sleeping problems most of our lives, and one of the things about Bob's and Robert and my friendship is that we commiserate. We talk about things that drive us insane, but that we have in common.
The commemoration of the miserable.
Yeah, it really is. And so he had told me he was getting the study, and I was super intrigued because I've always been a little bit bugged out at the idea of trying to sleep in a lab with wires on me. Bob did it, so please share your experience.
So, for anybody who's wondering what the hell we're talking about, I have been having severe sleep problems for, I would say at this point, about 2 years. And what I mean by that is I wake up drenched in sweat. I wake up at random times in the middle of the night. I think, for people who don't know, I mean, we all wake up, but we don't remember it. I remember it. And on top of that, my wife has actually recorded me snoring. It sounds like a buzzsaw. It's actually impressive. I'm like, that sound came out of my body. But yet she didn't really find it that great when she's trying to sleep, and she's a light sleeper. I'm a deep sleeper. Anyway, I would also wake up and I would be I would feel like I didn't sleep.
Yeah.
And
no sense of being refreshed at all.
And it's gone on for so long that finally.
How long? Give it a time frame.
2 years.
People.
2 years solid that it's been like this.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I reached out to my primary doctor and I just was explaining it to him. He was awesome. He set me up with a pulmonary sleep doctor. And the pulmonary sleep doctor heard what I had to say and was just like, yep, we're going to set you up with a sleep study. So that sleep study took place at a hospital, like an extension of the hospital. It wasn't in the hospital. This is just literally, this wing is just for sleep studies.
Okay.
They have bedrooms. I have my own bedroom. So I had to get there at 8 o'clock at night. I get checked in. There were 3 other people there. Naturally, I was the youngest by far that was there.
What was your initial feeling?
I was a little, because I'm always apprehensive of the unknown. And I walk in, I was wearing it on my face because this older gentleman was sitting there and he turned around and he just looked at me and he's just like, fix your face. He's like, literally like, fix your face. And so I'm like, it made me laugh. And then the lady was called in first, and then I was called in. And no, I wasn't called in. He was called in. But while we were there by ourselves, he's like, this is your first time? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, always remember your first time. Like, he was he was on point.
But wait, so here's my thought on the first person you meet being a repeat offender. I would be like, so what your body here represents is that this doesn't work.
No, I can go into it. So they bring me into the room. They give me a tour of the room. They tell me about all the nuances. They tell me about...
What did it look like? I'm sorry to ask a lot of questions.
It looks like a hospital. Looks like a hospital room. It has its own bathroom.
So they don't make it any attempt to make it feel like a bedroom.
No, but the bed was comfy. Yeah, it wasn't an issue of comfort.
Hospital beds are kind of nice.
Yeah. So the sleep study director was just going over things with me. He's like, what time do you want to go to sleep? I told him. He goes, okay, I'll come in about 40 minutes before that. I'll hook you up. We'll run you through some pre-tests and then you're good to go. And he was explaining to me, so he asked me why I was there and then explained, okay, so the referral was put in for you. So there are different things that can be measured during a sleep study.
Okay.
Mine was baseline. So literally they hooked up leads to my legs to see if I have restless leg syndrome. They hooked up all these sensors on my head and my face and my chest to measure like an EKG for my heart, to measure my brainwave activity, to measure my sleep cycles, how long they are, to measure my microphones, little tiny microphones up inside my nose to measure snoring.
Wow.
So then they come in when I give them the time, and it takes like 25, 30 minutes to hook me up.
Wow.
And
Not a very relaxing thing to do right
and you're
before
hooked
sleep.
into something that looks like our digital recorder here. It's a little bit bigger than this, but it actually has the outline of it looks like Operation actually.
Oh.
So, and it tells you where each kind of lead needs to go. And essentially, he answers the golden question. He's like, so if you have to use the bathroom, you hit this dinger right here. We have like an Alexa in the room, and we'll ask you what you need. And if you tell us you need the bathroom, we'll come in, and the thing can be unplugged from the wall. And then they have a little thing so you can hang it around your neck and go use the bathroom.
Oh.
And then they hook you back up. And they also hook you up your finger for like O2 saturation levels. They measure everything. And so, yeah, I probably got about 2.5 hours of sleep.
Has to be strange.
Yeah. So before that you even can go to sleep, you got to lay down flat on your back, close your eyes. You have to move them left to right and up and down. You have to take 3 deep breaths through your nose, 3 through your mouth. You have to make a snoring noise.
That's them checking all the equipment, I'm assuming.
They do. So they do that at the beginning, and then they do that at the end before you can get unhooked from everything. The study ended at 5:30 in the morning, and then I was free to go once I answered a questionnaire, and they unhooked me and did all that, and told me I had to wait 12 days. So yeah, that was my experience. So I'll find out in like 12 days, maybe 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So maybe some of you out there are wondering, we're like 6 minutes in. Why are we talking about this stuff?
Oh, wait, one more thing about that. What are your hopes or expectations?
I wouldn't say hopes. I just would say I expect to find out just how fucked up my biophysical makeup of my body is when I'm trying to sleep.
Yeah. And
then working on ways to fix that. Because this is an extremely unhealthy way to live, and it's a miserable way to live. And so, yeah, I wanted to segue, and that is the point of our episode today. It is talking about people our age and our health, or lack thereof. There's a bunch of research I did. There's a bunch of topics I want to cover. And it's really important because we are at an age now where we should collectively really start focusing on our health. And there are some trends that are coming out that are not great for people our age.
Misinformation is a key right now. You know, it's a big element to everything in terms of self-educating is you have to be careful that you're pulling from the right sources. But yeah, and people have to understand too, the health thing, you know, we say health and the first thing people think is physical shape and body. And that's not solely what we're addressing here. Like if you think about what Bob had just said about sleep, it's a perfect example. You know, you have to essentially be a trifecta, a balance of physical, mental, and spiritual to be at your best. And so when we talk about health, we're going to talk about physical, mental. We're going to try to cover it all.
Yeah.
Because we're getting to the age where it's not like I used to be able to laugh at it because I didn't give a fuck and just snorted.
Oh, willy-nilly. It's just insomnia.
Yeah. And everything, being overweight, being everything, you know, but then you get to a point in your life, you're like, you know, there's enough information out there that we can potentially curb some of at least the discomfort.
Yeah. And we're going to go beyond just the physical. I know you highlighted that because a big part of a lot of this is mental health. There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of areas to cover that we can talk about. So we'll do our usual. We'll play a song. We'll pay some bills.
We will.
Yeah. And then we'll come back and we'll just dive right in. So you want me to just dive in on some research I got? I got different levels of research than we could just talk about.
Oh, wait, let me preface that a little.
Go.
Guys, you know, there's been a beast born in Bob, and it's a research beast. And he has been thrusting his throbbing manhood into research lately at all hours of the night and day.
Well, I think a big thing that's missing in a lot... Hey, I'm going to call out of the podcast.
Maybe if you let me finish it, I would have said something nice about you.
You can still say something nice about me. I'm still going to speak my mind. Oh, the moment's passed now because I'm going to be critical. All right.
No, because everybody cuts me off, so I'm just not finishing my thoughts anymore.
Oh,
Remy's sensitive today.
Oh, you're welcome for the coffee, by the way.
Well, the fact that you squeezed it from your nipples, and I told you it was delicious, and thank you.
I didn't squeeze the coffee from my nipples. I squeezed the Coffee Mate French vanilla from my nipples. Yeah, because that you know that's how terrible my health is. I'm just lactating Coffee Mate.
Well, that's a good segue.
All right, so the reason I really focus on research is because I don't want to just come on here and make people think I'm just bullshitting off the top of my head.
No, the point I was going to make is we need that today.
Yeah, exactly. There's not enough of that anymore. There's too many people that are just speaking their opinions and presenting it as fact. Like and another reason that I look at research is because I want to see like if my beliefs are wrong or if I need to correct them. You know, if I'm wrong, I'm going to son of a bitch. and then I'll move on and I'll adjust accordingly. In my opinion, like rational people should do.
Yeah, the American way.
So yeah, I'll start with some research here. So the research I looked at, it was just focused on life expectancy of people who are considered Gen X and millennials, or Gen Y. We went over that in a previous episode. And it indicates that millennials have, what would you think millennials have? A longer or shorter lifespan?
Shorter.
You would be correct.
That's when the real stress began in the country and the world. So yeah.
Interestingly, research has also indicated that younger people are just unhealthier in several categories. Obesity, myself included, but obesity, mental health,
you know what it
cardiovascular health.
It's collective dissonance. It's that a world unhappy.
Yep. The statistics also indicate that younger people are dying as a result. And what I mean by that is, it's one thing to just logically be like, well, if the life expectancy of a generation is less, then people are dying younger. Yeah. But what I'm pointing at here is that people are dying like in large numbers in their like 30s,
I was going to
20s.
say, yeah. Just say it. We're saying people did not necessarily have heart attacks and strokes when they were that age.
Exactly. And it's becoming more prevalent. It's happening more often now. So during the last census that the U.S. put out, which was in 2020, as a whole, life expectancy of every single person in our country went from 78.9 years old to 78.6. That may not sound like a lot, but just know that that's reflective of 330 million people.
And we willed that because what you need to understand is that was the start of the suicidal memes and I hate my life memes and the full embrace of nihilism with that generation.
Now, you want some other things related to this?
I do.
It is the first time since the census has been tracking life expectancy that it's dropped.
Oh, wow. So,
yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, oh, wow, we're the first. I don't know if that's necessarily the first you want to be, but hey,
we're
whatever.
Going backwards, people. Hey, if a generation wants to die enough, can they not move back? Can they not decrease their life expectancy?
Well, I feel like
can.
I feel like I'm going to talk about something like that in another episode that we will do in the near future. Because I think it fits better than there. But yeah, so that's my preamble. And I have some topics here. And I feel like we can just jump off and talk about these topics. So I broke it down into 3 main topics. And those 3 main topics are in order. Number 1, diet and exercise.
Uh-huh.
Topic 2, sedentary lifestyles.
Uh-huh.
Topic 3, mental health.
Uh-huh.
So let's start with diet and exercise.
Can I just jump in a little? Because you got all the juicy shit today. And I feel like I'm just in the corner beating off. Which I'm doing regardless, but sediment, you said sedimentary. Sedentary. And that's a big one because this is the first time we have a generation of people working from home.
Yeah.
People are not necessarily moving. People are not as active as they were. So, all right, Bobby, I love you. Go.
All right. So let's start. Topic 1, diet and exercise. So as a group of people, we eat too much processed fatty food. We drink far too many beverages loaded with extra sugars, also called empty calories. We are highly prevalent because of our lifestyle here with our diet and our lack of exercise for high blood pressure, stroke, heart disease, colon cancers. All of our risks as a generation are elevated.
And here's what's really interesting about all this is that we are also, we're not the first generation to have fast food, but we're the first generation to have it in the abundance and the ease and the dollar
casualness
thing now. So what you have now, unfortunately, too, because a lot of people will justify, first of all, $2 double cheeseburgers at McDonald's or something, right? $4, and you ate. And you didn't have to cook, and you did it while you were commuting, so you didn't have to interrupt what little time you might have to your life. So we have to correlate obesity also in this country with people who are less well off, because I'm sorry, 2 double cheeseburgers is way cheaper than a delicious salmon fillet.
Yeah, I actually watched a documentary on the unhealthiness of the food we eat and all the empty calories we eat. And by empty,
was it Broke, Fat, and Stupid?
No.
Okay. That's a really good documentary if you haven't seen it.
And what I mean by empty calories is calories. So the typical, I think it's the Food and Drug Administration sets it, that a typical person would eat a 2,000 calorie a day diet. And so in that, and that's where the food pyramid comes in, and it says you need this many servings of this many
Fruits
servings
and
of this.
veggies.
Yeah. So things that don't fit into that pyramid, like, sorry, Rem, coffee, because of the added sugars and the creamer that I used, regardless if it was natural.
No, and like, here's the thing. You can be self-righteous this week, but you drink the coffees with me every other week.
I do.
But
I get my 1 week of self-righteousness.
I know what I do, though. Like, that's the thing, and that's part of addressing it and realizing, like, all right, well, if I do this stuff, I have to double down on the other healthy stuff that I do.
Yeah, and then I wanted to go back to, you brought up fast food chains, and I slipped in there the casualness of it. I mean, in the North, we live in Massachusetts, but we live in New England, and New England is just the tried and true fast food chain in New England is.
Oh, I mean McDonald's?
I would say think. I was gonna say Dunkin'.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I think at Dunkin'. I guess you're right. Without one of the biggest in the world.
I just love the fact that there's literally a Dunkin' every like 3/4 of a mile.
Okay, people who think that's hyperbole.
Yeah, it's not. At least
it's
here.
Not hyperbole. It's fucking insane.
Yep.
I'm talking about you can have a Dunkin' Donuts across a busy street from another Dunkin' Donuts because cars can't get to it.
Yep.
I have one on the end of. I could walk to Dunkin' Donuts from my house. Maybe Bobby, not so much from here, but almost any place.
I could walk to a Dunkin'.
There you go.
Yeah.
In Massachusetts, if you live anywhere, there's a pretty good chance. And Dunkin' has it's monopolized coffee locally.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in like a 1 to 2 mile radius from my home, there's 3 Dunkin' Donuts.
But like
in every direction.
Even on Sunday, though, part of me, and I'll own it, I started it, but part of me and Bob's ritual is a coffee and maybe something that isn't good for us.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to touch on too is, I mean, I don't remember it being like this when we were children.
No.
I mean, just fast food chains in general.
Oh no,
have exploded.
Chick-fil-A's are popping up on corner. Like, it's crazy.
Yep.
There's a Chipotle in every fucking street now.
Taco Bell's, Wendy's, you just
and
name
I'll tell you, like, being someone who smokes weed and makes impulsive decisions, that shit is hard for me. It is. When I'm driving and I'm like, oh man, but I'm going to go home and cook. I'm going to roast a piece of chicken and I'm going to fire roast some corn. And, but it's like, or I could spend $4 right now. And that for me, and I know that's fat people talk. I know. Well, I think that a lot of people justify, but you have to understand that there's not a lot of time people have left to themselves.
And I know we focused on fast food, but fast food isn't the only processed food.
Chains, dude.
I mean, like, you can go to the grocery store and get processed food. I mean, you can get any kind of snack, you get anything. I mean, processed food basically means that they've added unhealthy fats, absurd amounts of sugar, dyes.
Salt, yep.
Salt is the number one preservative.
Salt and
so
sugar.
I won't say all, but a lot of frozen foods are just loaded with salt.
Yeah.
Because that's how you help preserve them and the flavor.
Yeah. And they need to stay frozen too. And so there's a whole process there. Yeah. It's crazy. So
it's crazy that we live in a society where it's like this, especially in the United States, because there's foods that we eat in our country that are banned in other countries because of the ingredients.
Foie gras. There's a reason. Well, there's a rumor. I'm sorry. There's a rumor coming that there's going to be a food boom right after the gas boom. And it's really like...
You mean it's not already here?
No, it's funny. It is, though, because I ran out of grocery money halfway through last month. Comparatively to, I've never had that happen. It's not because I bought more at all.
You bought what you always bought. It's just the fact that inflation kicked up the prices.
It was at least $35 more. Yeah, it was alarming. So what can we offer, though? What is the alternative for poor people, though? It's a genuinely tough, almost a philosophical question.
Well, I know around here, I mean, your options are like Market Basket, Walmart, and Target. And I'm specifically talking about there has to be some willpower in buying actual like fruits and vegetables.
No, and I agree. And involvement.
And it's really about if you're living on that dime that doesn't stretch as far. I mean, it's about going to these places and getting these foods. It's about actually putting in the work to actually make foods. Myself included. I'm guilty in that too.
But there's also nothing as gratifying as making an amazing meal, though. Making an amazing meal and then sitting down to it is its own reward.
I used to make this amazing pesto. I don't anymore. And my friend, when I lived with my friend, he used to look forward to like Friday nights because I would have Friday nights off and I would make pasta with homemade pesto.
Oh yeah, my dad used to murder pesto.
And to the point where his significant other to this day would be like, I keep trying to make that pesto. And he just says it's not the same.
Bobby has a shirt on right now that says, my pesto is the besto.
But then on the flip side, my wife also says, why don't you make me pesto?
Okay, I didn't mean to step on his punchline, but he didn't hear my joke at all.
I did not.
He was so
I was
prepared
so
on giving
fixated.
his next.
I'm not always like that, and I'd like to think I'm improving, just not in this moment.
No, it's not a bad thing, but I put a whole joke right through that landed and everything. You'll listen to it in the callbacks. We do that for 90 minutes. Bobby, come on.
Bobby, come on. You can put it all on me.
Nice.
You know, for anyone who doesn't pay attention to these health risks too, like do people out there realize what can happen if you have prolonged untreated high blood pressure?
Let's assume they do, but yeah, you get swollen organs, everything's all fucked up inside you.
So you have high blood pressure. You leave it untreated. I mean, first off, to treat it, you have to take pills that lower your blood pressure. I mean, that's a given. But if it goes untreated, it starts to damage organs. Like specifically, it'll damage your kidneys. It can lead to stroke. It can lead to heart disease. It can lead to these things can happen on their own, but it can lead to all these things just by itself. One thing that wasn't even on here was type 2 diabetes. Like absolutely living a lifestyle like this can lead you to type 2 diabetes, which also can lead to all of these things happening. It can lead to hardening of arteries. It can lead to atrophy of the arteries because most people don't know that the arteries around our hearts are actually very flexible. But then when stuff like this happens or other things, it's...
All right, so more than an info dump, what does it mean? Tell me what it means to you. Tell me how health affects the decisions you make daily, what ways you go out of your way to try to be healthy at this point in your life, and how you view your longevity now versus, let's say, 25.
Oh, at 25 years old, I could have given a fuck. And now I kind of I'm like staring at mortality at 40 years old, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to shorten my life back then. It's really going to shorten my life now because I'm still doing it. But I can talk about personal things here. I mean, the high blood pressure, my father had high blood pressure and destroyed his kidneys.
Wow.
And by the time he actually started to take pills and get it under control, I mean, his kidneys were around 50%.
Holy fuck.
Did
you inherit that?
And then, it's high blood pressure related. So high blood pressure runs on both sides of my family. But at the same time, I mean, he was also someone, he loved to drink. He smoked for 27 years and he loved salt. Okay. I did not inherit his love for salt, by the way. Like and when you live with a Caribbean spouse, you get shit for your lack of salt. Not lack of seasoning, lack of salt.
Fair enough, though.
Yeah. So she's adjusted and I've adjusted. She's adjusted more than I have. I just jack up the other seasonings.
Yeah, you counterbalance.
Yeah, and she goes, my palate's adjusted.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, no thanks. But yeah, that's my big kind of self-disclosure. Those are like, I always am looking at my blood pressure just so people know. Because that's kind of sticks out for me. Colon cancer, another one runs in my family. Yep. That is fairly silent until it gets to stage 2, 3-ish. And then that's where you would notice it. And if you're unfortunate, it's spread.
Yeah.
It's spread to other parts of your body. So yeah, we've covered, that's topic 1. And related to that, and topic 2, the sedentary lifestyle.
Well, wait though, you didn't answer my question.
Okay.
So
I'm not doing anything. Just so you know, I'm admitting I'm not doing anything.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm on this high horse, and I'm not even doing. You can call me a hypocrite or whatever.
No, not at all. And it wasn't.
That was more of a universal you, not a you.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess with me, for the first time in my life, I've tried to be conscientious of it. I never, I was with Bob. I didn't give a fuck. Long-haired, cool stoner guy. Never cool, but whatever. Thought I was cool. But I didn't care about my health, and I was just I had a real nihilist stance on things. So for me, it was like, any fucking care if I died. But like the reality is those bad choices, like being heavy or whatever, it's not going to kill you when you're 20. No. It's going to catch up with you. And
I had a professor, and this time I am truly sorry for cutting you off.
It's okay.
But I had a professor when I was in college who said, like fast food is okay in extreme moderation. And it's really, all the bad stuff isn't going to happen to you when you're in your teens and 20s. It's possibly even your 30s. It's not going to, if you eat it all the time, like we learned in Super Size Me, it is. But if you do what you do as far as fast food goes for prolonged periods of time, then it will catch up to you.
See, I'll say that, I'll counter it. The guy that he represented, and I already forgot my main discussion, so I hate you. But the guy he represented in Super Size Me, the guy who ate the 2 Big Macs every day, bro, should we not address that? That dude stayed healthy. He's still murking 2 Big Macs a day. So I think it comes down to, because there's another guy who did the Little Debbie diet. Do you know about that?
No.
Laugh if you will, but it's amazing. So he told people, he's like, you know what? There's a big misnomer about fats and about sugars in the way people view food.
Oh, yeah, because let's go back to our formative years in the 90s. Let's go back to formative years in the 90s. All fat was bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All
You
fat
couldn't.
was
Oh
bad.
my god, are you kidding me? Like if you were fat, you had to
All
learn.
cholesterol was bad.
You had to learn and throw a punch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another thing. But anyway, the little Debbie diet guy only ate Little Debbie for a year, didn't eat protein, did not gain any weight. He was completely healthy. It's like, it's not about sugars. All it's about is your calorie count. It's a really interesting read, and I should have came in with it. But yeah, there are some people that think that the obsession with fats and creams and milks, yeah, it all exists. The Atkins was huge, right? All our friends for a little while stopped eating bread and eat like triple cheeseburgers with just meat, and it was a weird, lawless time. Did they lose weight? I watched all my friends lose weight. Now ask me how many of them had strokes because that fucking diet was unbalanced as fuck. So I'm not telling you that if you ate Big Macs every day and met the calorie count and worked out, you'd be fine. I'm telling you that different bodies have reacted very differently, which is interesting because what works for Bob might not work for me. Because I'm working out for the first time in my life because of this. And because I had like a breakup and I was like, I'm either going to die or I'm going to get better. And I decided to get better.
One misnomer about the calorie things. First off, the 2,000 calories a day diet is bullshit.
Just like the 8-hour night sleep is bullshit.
What is more important is like going to a dietitian and realizing, like if you live a sedentary lifestyle, how many calories your body burns just from existing a day.
Yeah.
And then if you eat, generally speaking, within a range of that every day, yeah, you're not going to gain weight because you're replacing the calories your body is just naturally killing. That's why people say exercise and get active, because you want to be at a calorie deficit to lose weight. And they also say the healthy way to do it is try to lose like a pound a week, tops. That is the best way, the slow game. And we don't live in a world of we live in a world of instant gratification. So that's where like remember when stackers were huge?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you know, like
everyone's
speed.
doing meth.
Yeah, everyone's just doing speed. I mean,
it's a great, listen, ephedrine, that's what they used. They used that shit in the fucking 60s and 70s, you know? But here's the thing, you know, for anybody, it's a matter of balance.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a matter of figuring out what works for you. And for me, I was like, I started walking, started doing some basic workout shit. Started to try eating fruit just as the supplement. And what was interesting for me is I have problems with food and sometimes I don't eat. It's not anorexia. If you looked at my body, good God, I can go days sometimes. And I didn't realize that made it so when I did eat, everything stuck to me because I wasn't getting enough food. And
it's like kurtosis, your body going through kurtosis.
100%. Yeah. So the funniest thing about the diet right now for me is I have to eat 3 more times a day. And I'm losing weight from eating 5 times a day.
Yep.
And it's like that was the first thing that it's like, oh, we know next to nothing about how to properly do this.
Oh yeah.
Because for me, I still will eat what I eat, but like once I started and made small changes, and that's the thing, even the losing a pound a week or whatever, I would even recommend don't focus on the pounds at all for the first 2 months and just make your choices better.
And in all honesty, I mean, I live a sedentary lifestyle. I admit that. I need to be more active.
Dude, I work from home, though. You get out. I don't, man. I write.
So it just shows you how terrible I am.
No, it shows you how terrible. I'm saying I'm right there with you is my point.
Yeah, and the point I'm trying to bring it back to is I'm trying to bring it back to the fact that I likely have obstructive sleep apnea. And even if I lost the weight, I would still have it, but I don't do myself any service. I'm always going to have the snoring that would come with it too. But again, if I were treated myself better, my symptoms would be better, my sleep would be better, and I would just naturally have more energy and I probably would be out there doing more. And so to me, like my first step is doing this sleep study.
Yeah, 100%, man. I give you kudos for that.
Thank you.
And even that, you know, I've wanted to do that my whole life because I've had sleep problems, but I never did it. And Bob's like, I did it and it's fine. And I'm like, okay, so that might give me the courage to do it or some of you guys the courage to do it. So that's cool. You know, it's maybe our last 30 years will be better than our first 40. So let's try to stick around for it. Yeah. Like, you know, Bob's got a wife. I have 4 wives. None X, by the way. It's just a weird.
Remy has a fantastic harem.
Yeah, we'll explain it in the future. Okay, so wait, because I don't want to miss this. How does your spiritual health factor into your physical health? I know it seems almost silly.
It doesn't. For me. It doesn't mean that it's not that way for other people.
Mental health.
Okay, mental health. Yeah.
Let me bring it around too. It's a silly question. Like, what does your spirituality do for your what? I eat Jesus wafers or something? It was kind of a stupid question.
But I honestly think I would say mental health is the biggest reason. Mental health to me is one of those foundational things about a group of people that leads to a lot of this stuff. It leads to drug abuse, which, by the way, I didn't put any stats in here, but our generation is just off the charts right now.
Yeah.
With just overdose deaths.
Yeah.
Over the last decade, I want to say collectively the overdoses or deaths are up like 300%. It's a pandemic. It's
I see dead bodies in cars in the city, bro. Overdosed all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, and it's something that we've reached a point where it's no longer a after school special. It's no longer just an exotic thing to put in a rated R movie. It's everybody's life. I feel everyone now has been touched by someone who's overdosed on drugs and died.
The other thing is too, you need to, we've talked about this before, but look out for each other. If you see a friend slipping and it's a tough time to be healthy in any way right now.
I take reality shows to task, but there are certain reality shows that at least their message is like genuine and good, like Intervention. Like the message for Intervention is this person that is living an out of control lifestyle. And I think on some level they do want to change, but they're so ingrained in it that it's hard. They can't do it by themselves.
See, my problem with that show is that I watch it and I'm like, oh, these people are getting exploited.
They are, yeah.
And it's hard for me because I should not be in the room in their darkest moment.
No, but what I like about that is its aim is true. Its aim is true because it also normalized the fact. It didn't make it taboo. It didn't make it something that, again, when you have boomer parents, it made it something that actually is discussed.
Yeah, good call, actually. Yeah.
But it does. But at the same time, it can be both. It can exploit people and have some positive. It can have positive.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's not black or white. I know mental health was huge about me even gaining weight as a kid. So my parents divorced. I couldn't sleep. So getting a handle on that, I think, for anyone is first.
Yeah, and I think for me, my depression is just driven. It's driven my just weight gain because it's just I remember days when it was literally it took every ounce of my being to get out of bed.
Amen.
To start my day. And if you've never experienced what I mean truly and genuinely what it's like to feel that way, then I don't want to hear from you. You haven't never walked in my shoes like that, then don't try to talk to me about, oh, it's not that, but you really okay. All right.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Kid Cudi lines, walk a mile in my shoes. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you tried to walk in my shoes, you'd kill yourself.
Yeah. I actually go with Depeche Mode.
Walking in my shoes.
Yeah, walking in my shoes. You'd stumble in my footsteps.
Yeah.
Keep the same appointments I kept if you were walking in my shoes. Yeah.
But it's prophetic. But also, the other problem, though, is like right now, everybody's battle is singular to themselves.
Yeah.
The battle to be healthy in a broken world where everything's just going away 1 week at a time.
We love to make Fight Club references. There's a great one. Everybody, our great war is our own. It is. It's everyone's great war right now is a war amongst themselves.
Yeah, within themselves. Yeah, it is.
Yep. And because of that, I mean, it's gotten better. I think society-wise, it's gotten better, but it's still taboo. Mental health is still taboo.
Yeah.
It's the first thing we have to do. We have to break through that. We have to break through that wall.
Yeah, I mean, the other problem with the breakthrough now, and I think we talked about this a little bit, is that all these people on TikTok use it as hashtags.
Yeah.
It's trending to be borderline personality disorder, and it's like, whoa. There's just what ultimately happened in society, in my opinion, is there was a spotlight. There was always a spotlight, and it's just been moved on the wrong things.
Do you remember when there was a big push on like commercials for just mental health awareness?
Yeah.
And like Glenn Close was in this one because her sister has a mental illness, and her sister and her like were there, and she was like being a proponent, using her celebrity to kind of be like. But my favorite one is it starts off almost like a horror movie trailer. Like it really does. It's a lot of like nasty images
Sharp
and all this
and scary noises,
and then just goes to this regular dude, and the guy's just like, "Hey, my name's so and so. I've been suffering with schizophrenia for most of my life, and I know most people when they hear that, they just think of like all the images you just saw on the TV screen, but that's not my schizophrenia. Like." Most people don't know. Most people, yeah. You know why? It's provocative. A beautiful mind, yeah. Hearing and seeing things that aren't there. But most of what schizophrenia is it's a thinking disorder. It means your brain has a hard time keeping things like straight.
Yeah.
Because a big thing like comes along with that is like word salad. I love word salad. People who have it really bad, like they have a problem talking, and then they obviously have low for. I work currently with someone.
I know, but it's just that could be clipped awfully.
Well, yeah. Well, it's always dark when you're tossing salad.
It's always dark. Hey! Cheers, buddy.
Yeah. Ding.
There it is. We hit the quota.
Yeah. So yeah, and again, in my little research I did here, it's kind of like, well, where do we go from here? Because I mean, there is awareness. At some point, I am for like awareness and changing our groupthink on certain things. But at some point, it's up to us. It really is. Like, in all honesty, because all this terrible food that is just readily available for us, it's about supply and demand. Like, if we are not demanding it as much, then there'll be less of it. And it'll also cost less. It'll cost less than it already does. But I mean, it'll go away because, like, at this point, it's now just ingrained in, like, our culture that it's like, you go to the grocery store, it's like, yep, I got to get my snacks. I got to get this. I got to get my frozen foods. I got to get blah, 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 blah. And if it's really just about a groupthink, that's a big one. One thing that really, it's existed. It's existed for a long time. But like farmers markets.
I'm sorry.
Farmers markets.
Bro, you are not literally not taking breaths between fucking thoughts.
That's how good I am.
Holy shit, man.
When I'm on a roll, that's how
Keep
good I am.
Keep going, farmers markets.
Yeah, farmers markets have always been a thing, but now it's
when you're done, let me know, because I do have a counterpoint to you.
It's celebrated now. It's like, hey, guess what? It's summertime. Every Sunday here at this location, farmers market, and it's locally grown. There's the movement of local grown things and everything, and I think that's great because a benefit of social media and every aspect of media is that it gets out there and it gives people an option. Go on.
I have to represent the other side. I don't know if I agree with everything you're saying.
Okay.
First off, I think it's way, 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 way more a class and money thing than anybody can understand. I'll speak for myself. I'm struggling financially, and for me, can I afford to get my fruits and veggies from no, I can't. I literally can't. If I'm going to eat, I cannot afford whatever. A lot of people can't. And I think that a lot of people, I think that if you asked most people who are eating processed food, and I don't mean chips, everybody eats chips. I don't mean fucking, I don't mean the basics, but I mean like the hungry man meals still, which shouldn't exist, but do. People who are eating that and feeding that to their children are doing it because they have to. I don't mean to make it that blanket, but I think that it's more of a class war. I don't think poor families who live in the city with 3 kids can even get out to a little farmer's market. So I think it's you find it in the cities because you're less likely to find organically grown stuff out there. But I think it's a class war, and I think it's a war that's implemented by the higher ups. I think it has been.
Well, who owns all these companies? Who owns most of the snack companies? Nabisco. That's
they're the conglomerate monopoly.
Yeah. They're one of it. There's like a couple, but Nabisco is a big one.
Coca-Cola factories in every big city.
I would go as far as to say that it's just another. To me, it's actually the most prevalent form of oppression in our country.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah, because and what I mean by this is our government provides Section 8 for people. It provides food stamps for people. It provides EBT cards for people. It provides food that is processed and made by the conglomerates. Yes. Who get there, and everyone gets their cut, and so it's basically like creating like it's not a pyramid scheme. It's creating a
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, I guess where I go to is it creates a system that's just good enough that most people don't want to get off of,
and they won't change it.
And that is the epitome of oppression.
No, 100%. Like my thing is the people who get $150 a month in food stamps that they have to survive on. I know that they would probably love. Man, I'd love to have some fresh Fuji apples. I'd love to have a whole watermelon. I'd love to have guava. I'm a fruit groupie. But with that, $125 a month that then gets broken into 4 weeks? And you're getting, oh cool, I have $30 to spend. That's Doritos, big thing of frozen burgers or steakums, because that unfortunately is how you stretch the buck. And the other problem is it's all made and programmed, not programmed like a computer, but it's synthesized to hit the same dopamine fucking release as drugs and shit. A ho-ho, blah, 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 all that shit. So it is a form of oppression. And like, I'll tell you, man, my mom is a great example. She struggled for a long time. And yeah, I know she doesn't eat like she'd want to, and so that I just want to represent that side because I agree it's become more available and that's awesome. You can even find organic stuff at the market. That's awesome. There should be more systems implemented in place to specifically get fruit and vegetables and fresh meats to poor families. Now, I know that now we're talking about a utopia, and I know that. But I know that a lot, especially when I first moved out, dude, it was nightmarish. Like, because I just was paying rent, taking care of bills, and that was when things started to swing for younger people where, like, nothing was balanced. Dude, I was eating like 2 cans of stew and like a box of garlic bread a week. You know, I would have loved to have eaten fucking baked chicken, you know? So everything you're saying is right, but I do want to put a little more of the emphasis on the fact that I think the poorest, who are also the fattest, and if you need proof of that, go to Walmart. How many people do you see on scooters in Walmart in your average trip? I'm sorry. I'm not fat shaming. I'm just being honest. All those people you see at Walmart, what do they have in common? They're poor. Even people who like themselves shop at Target. Walmart is that, but Walmart's amazing for what it does, and it does some really shitty shit too, but let's not get into that. But there's a reason that the people you see, if you went right now, if me and, you know what, someone fund this. Send me and Bobby to
Dubai.
Here's the thing. Dubai, man, you're not going to see fat people. You're not. I can almost promise you. So there is by the way, we're 2 fat guys sweating in a hot box right now. Just to give you guys a visual, like, I think we both didn't think it was going to be as warm as it is. We didn't jump in the pool.
I'm practicing my breathing.
It's hot yoga for us right now, which makes us even more pertinent. But the point is, you reach an age, I think, Bobby, I mean to go off on a tangent, but you reach an age too when you're like, you know what, I don't want to die.
Listen, everyone gets their right to have a tangent. if I'm being consistent and I'm saying this is our show, like, then we all get our chances to do that.
But yes, no, I don't want you to think anything you were saying was wrong, but I do, as a super poor person, I know there were times when it's like, oh, I'm eating this gross, like, frozen shit, and I would rather have salmon.
That's good, because I was going to say, all right, well, I don't, fuck me. It's like,
no,
right,
not at all, man. I think that people put the emphasis on, it's not as easy for some people as all. That is. And what I do think you said, and what's absolutely true, is that it's all becoming more prevalent and more available. And what's going to happen as that happens is, because I know what you're thinking, Rem. I mean, I was reading your mind. You're thinking, but dude, it's not like going to the farmer's market is that much more expensive. I agree with that. I don't want people to think of farmer's market's like a red carpet event. It's not. But if you're going to go there, you're going to spend 20, $30. You're going to make it worth it. And if someone with low income spends that, and I got to tell people, food stamps has a special allocation for fruits and vegetables. Mm-hmm. And they do something, at least in Mass, they do something incredibly cool that I found out about. They have a separate program, like I said, within their food stamp card for fruits and veggies. And if you spend like a decent amount of money on fruits and veggies, they give you money back. So there is incentive now for people too. And what I think and hope is going to happen, Bob, is that a lot of it is going to become more regular and more normalized, and that there will be access for people, you know? But I think it's an issue of time too, because, you know, they work 2 to 10. They got to get home to their kids. Like you said, it is. We're in a system of oppression, 100%. And I think what you were saying is you hope enough people begin to recognize that to make the change. And I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So instead of sitting here like I think stereotypical people would, be it a podcast, a show, or whatever, or just any format, Facebook or whatever, and being like, what the fuck, you know, and getting my cognitive dissonance. No, I sat here and I was quiet because I listened, and I said, you know what? I did have tunnel vision, and I didn't think about the people who are on like assistive needs services. So, hey, that's fair.
No, but that's the beauty. Listen, man, that's why Bob asked me to do the show with him. Not because I'm poor. Fucking assholes. Bob asked me to do the show with him because he knew, if nothing else, that I wouldn't mind representing a different side. And that's all it is, man. And you know what? I really genuinely hope that there are more, because all these changes that we mentioned, guys, don't get overwhelmed. Me and Bob are still in the process of making them one by one.
Yeah.
So don't look at a sheet of things you need to do to get healthy and say, I can't do that.
The worst thing to do is to just look at an entire list and be like, oh, fuck it.
Yep.
Because you're going to get yourself overwhelmed. It's not just about exercise or weight gain or mental health. It's anything in your life. I let the dishes build up in my sink, and then I see all of them and I'm like, fuck it. No, but then what I do is I remove certain ones and then I start to clean. So it's visually, it's less. Yeah. And I go, okay, all right.
Well, that's it. And I think even goal boards, like that's why I think even looking to lose pounds, you're going to frustrate yourself. Say, you know what? I'm going to do a couple things this week and I'm going to do a couple things next week. But don't think that we're telling you all this because we practice it all. No, we're 2 old weird guys who are trying not to die, and we'd like to try not to die with our audience if that's possible.
Yeah, we'd like to actually, I mean, it really hurts our show if like our audience dies young. We want to keep you guys alive as long as possible.
That would suck.
Yeah. So it's as much about helping you guys as it is ourselves.
And
because you know what, if we die before you, that's cool. The show will live on in syndication.
Yeah, maybe we'll maybe we'll eventually get like a intern Kelly again, where someone will like this enough and they'll pay attention enough, and when we die, we can leave it to them.
Yeah, and then they can ruin it.
Bobby, gotta have faith in the next generation, my dude.
All right. Well, I guess we'll jump off on a positive note then.
Yeah. But health and happiness to everybody.
Yeah. All right. Take care, everybody.
We love you.
On the next episode of the Xennial Odyssey podcast, Remy and Bobby Ross discuss.
This episode is about faith and devotion. It's about people our age and our views on spirituality, religion, mortality, morality, what have you.
Take it to a real basic place. What was your religion as a child? What's your religion now?
I don't necessarily believe in one thing or the other.
I got out of that pretty lucky.
Yeah.
We're talking about Massachusetts churches, guys.
I want to give you some numbers, all right?
Please do.
All right. So,
I was sure by now that we would have seen the death of organized religion.
you read into religions, you follow Buddhism, Hindu. So I actually did that in college. I found it very fascinating.
Yeah.
Get out your story. That's why I put Odyssey in the name of the show.
You know, we're all on this journey together and we're trying to figure it out. So just know you're not alone.
And you know what? Like the great Bill Hicks said, it's only a ride.
Well, yo, all you weird witch bitches who pierce your nipples and maybe don't have a god, get at me.
New episodes are released every Tuesday morning. Find the XOP on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, our Facebook page, or YouTube.